AITA for divorcing my husband for putting a camera in our house to prove a point about me. It's been about a month since I 46F found out my husband 47M had put a hidden camera in our living room to prove that I'm lazy and worthless. It was a small disguised camera hidden inside what looked like a charging block. He stuck one in a living room outlet. We have 3 kids, 16F, 14M, 12F, who all have a bunch of chargers and such, so I did not suspect. The point my husband was trying to prove was that my administrative skills are not up to the Super Sam standards he as a high earner deserves. This all started after a situation where my 12-year-old needed a permission slip signed and forms filled out in order to go on a class trip. I admit that things happened and we missed the submission deadline. I had made a note to fill out the forms on another day since it was a task I needed to be 100% focused on, but it became the start of a new month, and that's when I do most of the shopping and tracking of household bill subscriptions. I do daily cleaning, but we use a service for deep cleaning landscaping that I had to supervise. Long story short, my 16-yo calls my husband after picking up her sister up saying she was crying because she can't go on her trip. My husband drives to the school to beg them to let him fill the forms out in the office. Thankfully, they let him since it was the same day. I apologize profusely. My husband, who is self-employed as a HVAC technician, laid into me about how he has so many calls a day, but still handles the administrative aspect of his job, communications and bookkeeping. I yelled back because his work is concentrated while my work at home has a bunch of moving parts and emotional labor as well, and I do it all behind the scenes. He digs his heels in about how I wasn't as busy and needed to do easy things better. A week later, he picks a fight about me not going that day to mail checks out to his employees when I could have done it the next day. He admits to the camera and starts citing proof of times I was on my phone, and that automatically equals goofing off. I was on my phone researching meals to fit my daughter's dietary restrictions while keeping her healthy as a ballet dancer. I was looking into subscriptions for frozen but healthy meals she and the rest of us could have on the go or at home. The fact he took offense to me occasionally lying down when I was researching, or that I had taken a TV break before preparing dinner, did it for me. He knew that my days are crazy during the first days of the month, which was when the permission slip debacle happened. I kicked him out of the house. It's been a month and friends have been saying that I'm missing the fact there are others out there who would not disregard the things I do to make being high earning possible. I ended up seeing an attorney and just filed for divorce because I feel violated and devalued. AITA? First comment, this is also why, as a common practice, it's best to get things like a permission slip or a small bill, fill them out when they hit your hand, then send them back out. That way you don't have to remember because it's a one and done situation. It's terrible to not mail paychecks on the same day every week. In some places, it's illegal. If employees get checks on Thursdays or Fridays, they should get them the same time so they can budget. And honestly, in this day and age of cheap small business software, you can have the pay sent out electronically in a direct deposit on the day indicated, so there's no mailing BS. No one mails checks, they are handed out or direct deposited. I worked in the trades as a bookkeeper. Filing for divorce is your prerogative. AITA. Second comment, if it was really important, I'd sign it, scan it, and email it to the teacher. Or I'd sign it, scan it, and drop it in the mail immediately. My son and I both have ADHD. I'd forget to sign it and put it in his bag on the day of, if I didn't put it on my calendar with a phone alarm as backup. And there was always a chance I might be so busy with my disabled other child that I'd blow it anyway. So I'd do it immediately. My son would forget to ever turn it in, and he'd lose it. So scanning and direct delivery was best for us. I did let him be responsible for the paperwork for lesser events or camps he particularly wanted to attend. These were non-essentials that weren't whole class events and pricey camps that required scholarships. He rarely did any of that paperwork, so I guess they weren't that important to him. You can't do it all for them, or they don't learn. Third comment, AITA. And here's why your daughter didn't call you for help sorting out the mess you made. She called your husband at work, who sounds like the far more reliable partner and parent. The more I read your post, the more it sounds like you don't do anywhere near as much as you think you do. You have to supervise the paid cleaners and gardeners. You poor thing. You're Googling pre-made meal subscriptions? How hard is it to cook for your kids? Oh, but she does ballet, so she needs super special subscription meal services. Bullshit. You don't keep on top of your kids' school requirements and essentially lost your daughter's chance to go on an important trip. And your husband saved the day while you sit there coming up with excuses about having to be 100% focused, but you still have time to have TV breaks. Are those TV breaks more important than your daughter? Apparently so. You say you have to do lots of emotional labor. Where's the recognition of his emotional labor? You also delay mailing out of employee paychecks until the last minute out of spite, just like you leave your daughter's school trip. It sounds like you have a much higher opinion of yourself than anyone else, while downplaying everyone else's work and needs. I think the poor guy deserves a wife who doesn't spend her time feeling sorry for herself and coming up with excuses while he dashes around picking up the pieces. Is putting up a hidden camera in your home shitty? Yeah. Has your husband been bringing this up, and have you been telling him this same bullshit you've been spinning us? Even when you paint yourself as the victim in your own words, you sound awful. I bet he has some far worse stories to tell than you admit to. So if you're gaslighting him, and this is what his life has come to, well, putting up a camera is less shitty than the way you treat your family. The fact that you keep coming back to edit incriminating details out of your story yet have not answered a single question is the nail in the coffin. You're altering the narrative and trying to gaslight us and probably your poor F-king husband too. I have a question about one of your main complaints which you've now edited out. When you were on the way to the post office already and he asked you to send his employees checks, the ones whose labor is what allows for you to be a stay-at-home mom, how many additional sheets of paper were you forced to carry, and were you able to make it home in time to watch someone else he pays to do your cleaning and gardening to make sure they do it properly? And was your 16-year-old child home with the 12-year-old you have them pick up at school for you? I ended up seeing an attorney and just filed for divorce because I feel violated and devalued good. Set him free. Let him find a woman who'll love and support him. Wait until you see what your life is going to be like when that decree comes through and the money tap is turned off and you have to work for a living to pay him child support because those kids know who looks after them and it isn't TikTok mommy.